A special thanks goes out to the Godfather, Rollo Tomasi, for indirectly submitting this article, having written an essay on it years ago on his blog. The article is entitled My Naked Truth. It was written by Robin Korth, and it chronicles a weekend she spent with a guy she met in hopes of hooking up with. Now, on its face, it would appear that this is the typical story about how a woman meets a man, spends the weekend with him, they're intimate, they have fun, and so on and so forth. But there are a couple of details that make this story atypical. The first of which is Robin's age. She was 59 years old when she spent the weekend with Dave, number one, and number two, the bedroom fun didn't happen. That's right, guys, she never did the dirty deed with Dave. Now, that might be hard to believe, given that I've talked about an 83-year-old woman by the name of Hattie, who regularly hooks up with men by using the Tinder app. But it would appear that Dave actually has a healthy sexual appetite, as in he isn't turned on by an old woman's body and didn't go all the way with Robin. Now, the reasons he put himself in this predicament in the first place remains a mystery. We'll never know why he even entertained this, nor am I interested in finding out. But the point is that he refused to get naked with Miss Korth, which shows us that there are actually some men out here who aren't thirsty and desperate enough to give sausage to a female who has an AARP card. So let's break down this disaster, also known as Robin Korth's shock that Dave didn't want to sleep with her, and further verify that women are always the very last ones to know when they are no longer desirable. Naked, she starts, I stood at the closet doors with the lights on and made myself ready. I took a deep breath and positioned the mirror so I could see all of me. I consciously worked to remove my self-believed inner image. I opened my eyes and looked carefully at my body, and my heart lurched at the truth. I am not a young woman anymore, she says. I am a woman well-lived. My body tells of all the years she has carried my spirit through life. This is going to be all kinds of fun to dissect, but first, let me quickly announce that I am taking 40% off my signature course on living the player life, How to Master the Game. How to Master the Game will teach you how to close the deal on the first night and build a rotation of hot girls. It will teach you the art of escalation, how to deal with flaky behavior, how to avoid women who are just looking to waste your time but get free drinks out of you, and much more. This course has over 25 hours of real-world, actionable advice and instruction based on my own personal experiences with women that anyone can put into action almost immediately. Join the hundreds of men who have increased their player power levels with How to Master the Game. Use promo code ROBIN to get 40% off for a limited time. Okay, let's pick up where we left off when Robin is staring at her 59-year-old naked body in the mirror and is smacked with a hard dose of reality. So halfway through, she admits that she doesn't look as good as she makes herself believe when she said, remove my self-believed inner image. She knows she is not desirable when she's naked, but her female hard drive simply will not let her acknowledge it. Women do this all the time. The truth is staring them right in the face, but they make up a false truth so that they can sleep at night. Don't get it twisted, guys. A woman's self-worth doesn't come from themselves. It comes from male attention. And the amount of male attention any woman gets is 100% dictated by her attractiveness and nothing else. And women know this. This is why they have a nervous breakdown when men stop pursuing them for bedroom fun. They can talk all they want about their personalities, what they bring to the table, and anything else. But deep down, they know that their worth is determined by men, and men base a woman's worth on the way she looks. Yes, there are other factors involved, but if a woman isn't sexually attractive, anything else she brings to the table doesn't matter. Then she keeps it real when she says she lurched at the truth, which was that she was not a young woman anymore, but she still sugarcoated this. Of course you're not a young woman anymore. You're 50-freaking-9. But what she meant was, I'm not sexually attractive anymore. Men don't want to sleep with me anymore. She can't say this out loud because she knows that a woman who isn't attractive is useless to men. She knows this. Now, if she were married at 59, it'd be a different story. No, she wouldn't be physically attractive, but as a wife of 35, maybe 40 years, she still adds value to her husband's life outside of hanky-panky. She had his children, she helped raise a family, she elevated his life, and helped him in his endeavors and so forth. So at 59, she still has use to her husband even when not physically attractive anymore. But a 59-year-old woman who is single has no use to any man, not even in bed. And again, Robin is acutely aware of this. But she can't say, I'm not physically attractive anymore, because she would be admitting to herself that she is useless to men, and that is a very difficult truth to wrap your head around as a woman, which is why they try to hold on till the bitter end. But then she immediately reverses skate and says, I'm a woman well-lived, as a response to her conscience telling her that she has no value to men anymore. She's characterizing sleeping around as well-lived. This is simply her trying to romanticize having slept around, Women sleep around all the time, but they actually never call it what it is, which is sleeping around. Robin calls it well-lived. Janelle Testa calls it exploring your inner self. Amy Horton calls it finding myself. Women never ever call hooking up with a bunch of dudes hooking up with a bunch of dudes. No, they have to sugarcoat it to make it sound like this profound, arduous process that requires introspection, self-examination, and deep inner thought. Robin Korth just did exactly the same thing when she said, "I'm a woman well-lived." Then she doubled down on the next sentence by saying, "My body tells of all the years she has carried my spirit through life." All this paragraph is saying, guys, is that she's given her body to so many men that her body aged quickly. And the result of her decision to sleep with hordes of men has rendered her 59-year-old eggplant emoji-ravaged body no longer physically attractive. That's it. Nothing carried her spirit through life than her love for an abundance of phalluses in her face. "I am a 59-year-old woman," she continues, "in great health and in good physical shape. I stand 5 feet, 9 inches tall, and weigh 135 pounds. I wear a size 6 in both jeans and panties, and my breasts are nowhere near my navel. In fact, they still struggle to make it a full up in a B-cup bra. My thighs are no longer velvet, and my buttocks have dimples. My upper arms wobble a bit, and my skin shows the marks of the sun. There is a softness around my waist that is no longer perfectly taut, and the pout of my abdomen attests to a C-section that took its bikini flatness, but gave me a son." So she says, I weigh 135 pounds. I wear a size 6 in both jeans and panties. None of that matters, boo. You're almost 60. It doesn't matter what size you wear, and nobody gives a damn about your panties. I keep telling you guys, day after day, that women never grow up. Here she is thinking that her measurements will make us say, she's as old as dirt, but she does weigh 135 pounds, and she is a size 6 in jeans and panties. Now, normally there's no way I'd ever hook up with a chick a decade and a half past menopause, but since she wears a size 6, I'm in. That's the same thing as Hattie telling dudes on Match.com that she's 73 instead of 83. She admitted to taking 10 years off of her age in her Tinder profile, as if dudes that would never consider smashing her at 83 would completely change their minds if she were 73. Then she talks about her boobs, her butt, and her legs. And before I talk about how effing gross that is, let me point something out that most, if not all, women do when talking about things that are not so flattering about themselves. She points out that her boobs are nowhere near her navel. She said this to insinuate that she doesn't have saggy boobs, but she talks about what they aren't instead of what they are. Women do this all the time when trying to mislead you and avoid the truth. Just because her boobs aren't down to her navel doesn't mean they don't look like prunes. So let's just run this quick scenario. And please, gentlemen, try to hang on to your lunch here. Let's say she's texting some unsuspecting dude and he's quizzing her about her body because she's, 50-freaking-9, and he wants to make sure that he'll rise to the occasion when and if the time comes. Let's say they're texting back and forth and he says, "Well, what do your boobs look like?" And she responds with, "Don't worry, they're not down to my navel." Then when they get naked and he pukes all over her, he says, "You lied to me. You said you had nice boobs." You know what she'll say? She'll say, "I didn't lie to you. I told you they weren't down to my navel and I wasn't lying." Now in his mind, he'll think, okay, that's true, but you didn't tell me that they look like deflated balloons. So here's lesson number 1, guys. When a woman describes something she or something about her is not, ask more questions. Quiz her on the details. For example, if a girl tells you, "My butt isn't saggy, trust me," you respond with, "Well, what exactly does it look like then?" If a woman says to you, "Don't worry, I'm not obsessing over my ex anymore," you say, "Okay, fair enough, but how often do you communicate with him?" Just because she tells you her butt isn't saggy doesn't mean it's not disgusting. Just because she tells you she doesn't obsess over her ex doesn't mean she's gone radio silent on him. She says her waist is no longer taut, which means her waist looks terrible. Then she blames her C-section that took its bikini flatness. No, sweetie, it's not the C-section that took it. It was your age and laziness. You see, guys, a female could remain mildly attractive at an advanced age provided she watches her diet, doesn't smoke or drink, and lives in the gym. But Robin here was too busy gobbling bananas to give a damn about the way she looked until Dave here finally just gave it to her straight. Her body is a hot mess, and the reason it's a hot mess is because she's lazy. Yes, age has a lot to do with it. But had she done what she needed to be done to remain sexually attractive, her body wouldn't be in the state it is now. She's the girl who blames her stretch marks on her pregnancy. No, sweetie, you have stretch marks because you were too lazy to apply cocoa butter 3 times a day like the doctor told you to. She's the girl who blames being overweight on her kids. No, sweetheart, you're overweight because you ate nothing but junk during your pregnancy and didn't hit the gym as soon as you popped out the kid. Take a look at your screen, guys. That's Maria King, mother of 3. and still fully hot and ultra desirable. I don't want to hear about genetics or lack of money or resources or any other BS excuse that women use to justify being out of shape. It can be done. Women are just too lazy to do it. And we as men are partially to blame because we can't stop gassing up these chicks, making them think that they don't have to do anything but eat fried chicken and donuts to get our attention. Never, ever let a female get away with telling you what something, someone, or somewhere isn't. You're interested in what things are. You will be the judge of what it's not her. Now to Miss Korth talking about her body. Honey, we don't want to hear about your wrinkly boobs. We don't want to picture your saggy thighs or your dimple-ridden backside. We want nothing to do with any of that. Keep that stuff to yourself. Like I said, your measurements have absolutely zero bearing on your physical attractiveness, and you know it. I don't give a damn about your C-section giving you a son. Dudes don't give a bleep about your body's story. Are you attractive or not? That's what guys ask themselves when they look at you. He doesn't want to hear, but my body gave me a son and my C-section took my bikini body. You don't want to hear about some dude's excuses as to why he's a fat ass, do you? You don't give a damn about him having a thyroid issue or diabetes or some sort of condition that makes him gain weight, right? Of course you don't. You don't want to hear about his sob story about why he's a fat ass any more than a man wants to hear your story of courage and bravery to explain why your body looks like beef jerky. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. These kinds of broads always want men to give them the kind of leniency that they never have and never will give to a man. Why this brutal scrutiny of myself, she asks? It was time to counter the damage of my culture, my own soft-held fear, and to pour warm love on my own soul. Oh, God. It was time to claim every mark and not perfect inch of my own body, a body that had been called too wrinkled by a man who was fetched by my energy and my mind, but did not like the bare truth of me. His name was Dave, and he was 55 years old. We met on a dating site, she says. Dave was interesting, gentlemanly, and bright. He held my hand and toured with me on long bicycle rides. He drove many miles to come to my door. He made meals for us both and ruffled my dog's happy head. I was enticed and longed for the full knowing of this man. And so we planned a weekend together. That's when things got confusing, unspoken, and just not quite there. We went to bed in a couple's way, unclothed and touching. All parts near. Oh, God. Kisses were shared and sleep came in hugs. I attempted more intimacy throughout the weekend and was deterred each time. There she goes again with telling us what her body is not rather than telling us what it is. She said, not perfect inch. Translation, old and decrepit body. Then she wants us to feel sorry for her because Dave called her body too wrinkly, even though he was fetched by her energy and mind. Which brings me to lesson number 2, and this one's for the ladies. And ladies, please pay attention here because I'm about to tell you something you already know, but never want to acknowledge out loud to yourselves or anyone else. And I said this earlier, but it's worth repeating because you people can't hear this enough. If you are not sexually attractive, we don't give a damn about your energy or mind. So you've got a degree and you make 6 figures. That's great and all, but if you've got more chins than boobs, I don't care. What's that you say? You have a charming, feminine personality and you can prepare home-cooked meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Great, but if you're out of shape, I don't care. Still not interested. The reason certain women love running their mouths about what they have and who they are is because they know they don't look as good as they could. And looking good means eating right and exercising on a consistent basis. This isn't easy. Getting a 4-year degree is easy. How do I know it's easy? Because most people who have them are women, and women are allergic to things that are difficult. Physically attractive women don't run their mouths about their degrees or cooking skills. Hot girls don't flap their gums about where they've been or what they've done. They're hot. They know that's enough. So when a woman is out here telling men about what she brings to the table, chances are she's overweight and lacks raw sexual attractiveness, and it's as simple as that. This is exactly why Miss Korth is telling us about how impressed Dave was about her energy and mind. Because when the rubber met the road, Dave didn't want her. So she, like all women, pointed out her other attributes so as to make us think, why was Dave not attracted to her? He was impressed with her energy and mind. What gives? On Monday evening over the phone, I asked this man who had shared my bed for 3 nights running why we had not made love. Your body is too wrinkly, he said without a pause. I have spoiled myself over the years with young women. I just can't get excited with you. I love your energy and your laughter. I like your head and your heart, but I just can't deal with your body. I was stunned, she said. The hurt would come later. I asked him slowly and carefully if he found my body hard to look at. He said yes. So this means seeing me naked was troublesome to you? I asked. He told me he had just looked away, and when the lights were out, he pretended my body was younger, that I was younger. My breath came deep and full as I processed this information. My face blazed as I felt embarrassed and shamed by memories of my easy nakedness with him in just days past. We talked for some time more, my head reeling at the content of the conversation. He spoke of special stockings and clothings that would hide my year. He blithely told me that he loved little black dresses and strappy shoes. He said my hair was not long and flowing as he preferred, but that it was okay because it was cool looking. I felt like a Barbie doll on acid as I listened to this man. He was totally oblivious to the viciousness of his words. He had turned me into an object to be dressed and positioned to provide satisfaction for his ideas of what female sexual perfection should be. For this woman to give us the impression that she was shocked at the idea that a man would find her body repulsive is as transparent as a freaking window. This chick knew her body was a wrinkly disaster, but rather than admitting it to herself and acting accordingly, she puts a man in the undesirable position of actually telling her that her body is too wrinkly in order to make him the bad guy. How dare he tell me my body's too wrinkly? But get this, guys, she wasn't shocked at what he thought. Oh no, she was shocked that he actually said it. And this was her nefarious plan to guilt a man into sleeping with her. Let me explain what I mean. You see, gentlemen, Miss Korth here tried to pull what women do all the time, which is pretending to ignore the truth, then relying on a man to be afraid to tell her the truth, then hoping he'll sleep with her in order to avoid sticking to the lie he told her when he said, "There's nothing wrong with your body. You're not overweight at all. Your body isn't too wrinkly." Robin Korth was relying on a man's fear of not telling her the truth so she could get lucky. She was going to put his feet to the fire and hoped he caved. Well, if there's nothing wrong with my body, she probably would have told him, then why don't you sleep with me? Let me ask you guys something here. You think this is the first time she's run this gambit? You think this is the first time she asked a man why he didn't sleep with her? Give me a break. She does this all the time. And until she met Dave, who was unafraid to keep it all the way real with her, Robin was batting 1,000. Every single dude she ran this same scam on fell for it, but Dave did not. And she was so shocked, she wrote an article about it because she simply could not believe that a man would tell her straight up that he was not attracted to her and proceeded to tell her exactly why. Obese girls know they're disgusting, but they rely on male fear to shame them into sleeping with them anyway. These chicks are all about size matters unless, of course, they're talking about their weight. These broads are all about age ain't nothing but a number until somebody tells them you're too old and your body is too wrinkly. Then, of course, she stays with the butt-hurt feminist playbook when she attempts to shame him for actually having a sexual appetite when she said he had turned me into an object to be dressed and positioned to provide satisfaction for his idea of what female sexual perfection should be. This is disingenuous on two fronts. Number one, women do not have to be perfect to be sexually attractive. A woman doesn't have to be perfect to make a man want to have sex with her. Robin knows this. But because she's trying to convince us that she's still desirable, she indirectly says, I may not be perfect, but I'm still desirable. No, Robin, you're not perfect, but that's not why you're not desirable, and you know it. It is your age. Number two, sexual attraction is not his idea. That's Mother Nature, dear. Nobody tells men what physical attractiveness is. Nobody gives us measurements or markers. We see a girl, and we instinctively know whether or not we want to get with her. That's biology. For this old maid to try and shame men for something they have absolutely no control over, which is what we're attracted to, is literally the same thing as me shaming women for wanting to have sex with men who are tall and muscular. He explained that now that I knew it was required, she continues, we could have a great time in the bedroom. I told him no. I would not hide from my own body. I would not wear outfits to make my body more tolerable. I would not undress in the dark or shower with the bathroom door closed. I would not diminish myself for him or for anyone. My body is beautiful and it goes along with my mind and my heart. This right here is the problem. A man told you, Robin, what you could do to become more sexually attractive to him, but you say that's diminishing yourself. I talked about this before when I discussed one of the many things that women do to sabotage their relationships with men, and that is that they don't put any effort into being sexy for their men. Your boyfriend tells you, hey, you look great in this. Rawr. They say, oh my God, you're objectifying me. Then you wonder why he sleeps with your best friend. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because your best friend likes wearing a skirt and heels around him to make herself more sexually attractive to him. Robin was given a roadmap by Dave, but she decided she didn't want to diminish herself. She continues, "When I told Dave that I never wanted to see or hear from him again, he was confused and complained that I was making a big deal out of nothing. He whined that I had taken a small part of our relationship and made it a major event. I didn't even want to try to explain the hurt and the horror he had inflicted upon me. I actually felt sickly sorry for this man as I hung up the phone. It was after this call that I went to the bedroom and gently stripped off my clothes. As I looked in the mirror, clear-eyed and brave, I claimed every inch of my body with love, honor, and deep care. This body is me," she said. "She has held my soul and carried my heart for all of my days. Each wrinkle and imperfection is a badge of my living and my giving of life." With tears in my eyes, I hugged myself close. I said thank you to God for the gift of my body and my life. And I said thank you to a sad man named Dave for reminding me of how precious it all is. Gentlemen, she just lied through her dentures. Ain't no way Dave lied about anything. Think about this for a second. A man who tells a woman straight up, "Your body's too wrinkly," would never moan and groan about a woman not doing something he suggested. Women always give themselves away as liars when telling these stories. They expect us to believe that alpha males exhibit beta behavior. Now, don't mistake me. I'm not saying that Dave isn't or is an alpha, and I'm not telling you I know what he said to her on the phone. But she wants us to think that she ended this relationship with Dave and not the other way around. So she ended this relationship with Dave and not the other way around? She said she never wanted to see him again? Dave called her? Please, here's what really happened. She called Dave, not the other way around. Dave didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore, and this is why she called him. She wanted answers. A man would never proactively call up a woman after spending a weekend with her, only to tell her, "I didn't sleep with you because your body was too wrinkly." Oh no. You see, Dave was attempting to ghost her, because having had experience with women, as he told Robin, he knows they don't handle rejection well. So he decided to fade out of her life and ghost on her in order to avoid telling her the naked truth about not being able to respond to a 59-year-old hag. She probably called him 5 or 6 times throughout the day. And because he knew she wouldn't stop until she talked to him, he finally picked up the phone and gave it to her straight. And surprise, surprise, she reacted poorly, just like he thought she would. And because women can never really admit the truth to themselves, even when a man tells her in no uncertain terms why he wasn't interested in her, Robin rushed to the mirror to prove to herself that Dave was full of BS with his unrealistic, misogynistic ideas of what female sexual attractiveness should be. And to her utter shock, Dave was right. Realizing this undeniable truth, Robin cried and hugged herself to make herself feel better about the fact that men like Dave are no longer an option for her. Then she got on her computer and wrote this article to convince us and herself that Dave is the sad one and not her. Unfortunately for Miss Korth, she failed miserably. So guys, do you think Dave was too harsh with Robin, or was giving it to her straight exactly what she needed to hear to stop running this scam? And ladies, are you going to end up like Robin when you're 59 and still single? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, Womanese Volume 2 drops July 31st. Be sure to text Don to 474747 to be notified the minute it's released. The link is in the description.